Okay. Welcome back. Take a great posture. Breathe into it. And with respect and friendliness, remember your mission in your life and give it away. So I've done a few videos now on unsexy words, unsexy terms, and I want to continue that because I think it's a sort of sexy notion to re-examine things we kind of take for granted. So today's unsexy subject is judgment or judging or prejudgment or prejudice. At Elephant Journal, a lot of our readers are spiritual types. I say that without judgment. And whenever I put up a kind of sarcastic Portlandia-ish article in the tradition of cutting through spiritual materialism, which was a book by Trungpa Rinpoche, the Buddhist teacher, who was wild and crazy. Some people judged him to be that. I get a comment, like I did on this blog on Elephant. The blog is titled New Agey Types, ironically, love to accuse others of quote-unquote judging. So the comment was, and I've literally had 100 of these over the years, if not more, almost verbatim, was, and it came from a custom account titled Judge Not. And the comment was, there's a whole lot of judging going on. ... Sort of sinister ellipses. There's a whole lot of judging going on here. And I replied, good point, but ... In my honest opinion, judging is a-okay. In Buddhism, it's called discriminating awareness, or prajna, which means insight or wisdom. It's considered simply healthy to know what to accept and what to reject. Prejudging is the problem. Prejudging is not great. Prejudging is dwelling in your preconceptions and judging others out of those through the filter of preconceptions. Another word for prejudging is prejudice. So no one's going around saying judice is the problem. There's always prejudice is the problem. So obviously race is one of the easiest things to be prejudiced about because you can very easily have, or sex, you can very easily have an opinion about an entire class of human beings or an entire class of anything. But it's very hard to be prejudiced about a particular person. There's all kinds of stories about downright bigot racists who are very close to an African American or someone they grew up with, but still holding racism in their daily actions and daily views. So that kind of points to the disparity or the difference, the discrimination there. In a positive way, you can discriminate between confusion and wisdom, or confusion and seeing equality, seeing that all human beings are possessed with fundamental basic human goodness and are worthy of openness and respect. So I got a comment like this again the other day, and I've been doing this racket for 16 years, and I was walking along with my dog, and I was looking at landscaping, and one yard, which was not very well taken care of, had wildflowers all over it. It's spring. It had been raining, so the earth was super moist because it was kind of chaotic and had room to absorb everything. And then the next yard was perfect. It had the little yellow flying flag on it that said, not safe for children or dogs, perfect green grass. And I looked at that and I said, these same people who are criticizing me for judgment would totally, if they're an environmentalist, look at those two yards and say, one is kind of reflective of nature or permaculture, and one is reflective of our society's weird obsession with perfection and grass and poison, even in a desert climate, which is where we're at. Grass makes some sense in England, right, where it came from, that tradition. So, and then I'm walking along, and I was thinking about an example where if I handed you, because I'm picking up my dog's poop, if I handed you a handful of his poop, and then I handed you an organic apple bought locally at your farmer's market and washed, I'm going to go out on a limb and say 100% of you, not 99% of you, are going to accept the apple. and that is judgment in action. Judgment needs to be clear through a clear lens. And I think ironically, we have colored the word judgment with our prejudgments about the word judgment, because we all run into heavy judgments and mean judgments and judgy people, and all of that is coming out of their preconceptions and our preconceptions, our aggression, our attachment, our claustrophobia, our fear, our ignorance, our willful ignorance, our lack of empathy. All those random words I just said are related to the 3 Buddhist root poisons, neuroses, which in themselves aren't bad and can be transmuted or transformed into the 3 wisdoms. So even in that notion in Buddhism, we're not being moralistic about our own neuroses. Our neuroses are fine. You, I'm going to go out on another limb, are neurotic. So am I. Welcome to being human. Do you judge your own neuroses? Of course you do. Do you actually prejudge them is the point I just made the mistake. Linguistically, I just said judge. So yeah, you can judge your own. I remember being a kid when I was like 5 and looking in the mirror and saying, you can be very handsome or very ugly. And usually you're just kind of average. And that was really judgment in action. It was this sort of weird childlike moment where you just, without any of the societal cultural norms that we're so used to, I just looked at myself and said, yeah, sometimes you can look great. Sometimes you can look like a mess. And sometimes, usually, you look, fine. And then, we all have subscriptions to magazines or whatever, and we buy into the mean girls or, the mean boys or whatever, and we have these weird fixed ideas about, I need to lose 5 pounds, I need to have bigger boobs, I need to be stronger, I need to have more hair, whatever it is. So all of that is societal preconception or societal prejudgment. And there's some great quotes about education. We need to unlearn our education. That again relates to that notion of prejudgment. So the Lady Justice in the Western sort of Roman tradition, she holds a sword. That sword is cutting through ignorance. That sword is judgment. So judgment has to cut cleanly, kind of like a butter knife through butter. You don't want to make a whole big mess. In the Eastern tradition, prajna is symbolized by a flaming sword of illuminating wisdom. So there's a connection there, perhaps. And I think that's about it. I can read a little bit of what I wrote on elephant. Nothing contrary to New Age mentality is wrong with judging. The problem is prejudging. We at Elephant try to do our share of cutting through that spiritual materialism stuff. When you see, ignorance or bad behavior, you can cut through it with judgment, with compassion, but you don't have to do it all like nicely. You can just do it very simply. And it can feel heavy or it can feel light. It kind of doesn't matter. It just feels very clean. And we all have examples of that in our own life when we just are very clear with someone without anything extra. And if possible, often in our relationships, we can think of that. Like, Mom, you don't need to do that. Just breathe. It's okay. That can feel kind, right? Instead of like, Mom, it drives me insane when you do that thing. All right, I'll continue a little bit. Still, we get happy, yappy, hippy-dippy, love and lighty comments like this one all the time than the comment I referred to. There's a whole lot of judging going on, ... And, I get those kind of comments whenever I put up a sort of like 10 ways to be super spiritual kind of blog, which I've been doing for a million years, which is kind of making fun of ourselves. And I think that's healthy. We all want, that's the cool thing. If we retain some faith and judgment, we retain our sense of humor. It's when we say, no, you can't judge anything, that we lose our sense of humor. Everything has to be positive is the Stepford Wives, right? These perfect, kind of like Orange County ladies who turn out to be evil robots walking around with perfect cold smiles. There's a coldness to perfection. There's a coldness to positivity. Positivity isn't positive. People also love the term positivity because it has the word positive in it. But really what's positive is looking at things clearly as they are with wisdom, and that's judgment. And sometimes things are unhealthy. You know, if you see someone punching someone in the face, you can make the judgment, you know what, let's stop fighting, separate, and breathe, and let's talk it out. I was thinking about a kind of playground kind of context. There's a certain positive nihilism to thinking we can't or shouldn't judge anything. It's okay to see things as they are, to call a spade a spade. Poison? Don't drink it. That's a judgment. Cigarettes? No thanks. That's a judgment. It's all good mentality. No thanks. That's a judgment. Thank you very much. Take a great posture, and whether you agree or disagree, I'd love to hear from you. Give it away.